Wow. I got two more questions, and then I just want to talk a little bit about your writing on the book and your how you thought about it. But one of the things that we can't talk about Larry Bird without also talking about the Magic Johnson, kind of their legendary rivalry. How much of that rivalry was foreshadowed in Larry Bird's early years? That there was this other player that he had to prepare for, and the kind of that whole moment of basketball that kind of took basketball NBA
Well,
to the heights.
think about that. Jim Jones, there's always somebody out there shooting that extra basket. That was Magic Johnson. Did you know? And I was stunned. I was stunned. I started, I was going to do another book on Larry Bird's college days, and I see where two people are doing that now, and I've got other things to do. Let him do it. But in doing that, I started looking at Magic Johnson. You know what his number was in high school?
Was it 33?
It was 33.
Yep.
You know what it was in college?
30,
It was
33, right?
33.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
still 33.
33. Yeah, now he didn't get 33 when he played pros like Larry.
No.
Isn't that eerie?
Yeah.
It is to me, and they're bookends. They match each other. Both of their Larry worked for the city and Magic with his father, who had a job, I think, working in one of the auto factories, but he also hauled off garbage and so forth. But there was a lot in common. I think the one thing that wasn't in common was the family and community support
Hmm.
that Magic had. It was tremendous, and I think that's what made him so outgoing. Just such a just such a beautiful human being, and so opposite of Larry, who would look down. It's probably even today, he's just not a talker, and I think he knew it. But there was something, and you can see it when you look at those pictures that were taken of them when they first met before they played in that final game. The photographers were coming in. You could see something there. It was almost haunting. You could see Magic's big smile, and he's over there, and he's kind of placed himself. He's leaning toward Larry. He likes people, and there's Larry, and he senses that, and he has this kind of soft look on his face. He doesn't. It's like he's not seeing this guy as a rival, and he seems comfortable too. So I think you can see that starting right there. Just their personalities, their drive was completely similar,
Hmm.
and they loved the results. Uh, I think for Larry, it was probably more life threatening not to have that because of what he was fighting, all the demons and ghosts of his past. Whereas I say Magic Johnson had more community, more support there. Stayed at his home, stayed at Lansing and played there. Uh, so there were differences, but even those differences, I think, drew them together. And they were just waiting to happen. I think that's another thing in Larry's life, and I guess in Magic's life too, that those two guys were just waiting to meet. And
Yeah.
when they did, it was special. We'll not see anything like that again, I don't think.
No, that's well said. And then on the last part, because you studied Larry Bird's upbringing and all that, what made Boston a perfect place for him to play? Because he never left for anything, and it seemed like he loved it there. So,
Well, his lawyer, who became his neighbor,
mm,
Wolf became his neighbor. He wanted that, and Larry mowed his yard. People would laugh about it. They'd come and watch Larry mow his yard. He got to do all the things that he felt comfortable that he needed to be able to do and feel okay with it. And I think in Boston, which is considered what a blue collar, hard working town, which is kind of the culture he came from, he really knew the language and how to fit in that sort of thing. There's an interesting story, and I may do a blog on this. Larry's rookie year, the first half, maybe the first third. If you read the newspaper articles, you wonder, you see they're wondering if Larry's going to make it or not.
mm,
Now that just went on a short period of time, but in real time, you go back and you read those newspapers, people are thinking, is this guy going to make it or not? He had a little bit of a rocky start. And there's a story in Drive that kind of fits into this that he tells. So he was riding in a taxi, probably had money to go otherwise, but he's riding in a taxi. And taxi driver recognized him. He said, what are you going to do? You've got a 5-year contract. And he said, well, And I think Larry wasn't sure if he'd play longer than 5 years. But he said, if I don't make it in the pros, I've got my degree from Indiana State and I'm going to go home and become a teacher and a coach.
Mm,
That was Larry's game plan.
wow.
But being in Boston, Larry found the world he needed to thrive in. And Boston was it, not only with what he found in that town in terms of how people were, but also with his coaches and the manager and so forth. In that um, they let Larry, they tried to please Larry, and they did, and everybody was happy. I think that was when Larry found his place. If you let Larry be Larry, everybody's going to be
Play
happy,
well. Yep.
and that was Boston, which
Good dude.
seems kind of strange if you were betting on it right before it happened because that's a big city and Larry's Larry, but he found a niche. I mean, obviously, and he was comfortable, and that's all it took. And I think people loved him for it. I mean, they saw him as being maybe eccentric in a good way, somebody that they could identify with. He's not a rich snobby guy. He's a country guy,
Exactly.
hillbilly, I suppose you might say. Boy, he
That's
called
what
himself the hick from French Lick, right?
Yep. That's what made that rivalry so crazy. You just have LA, the glitz and glamour. You have
Yes,
Magic
yes.
Johnson, and you got Boston, working class, hard nose, like all it just like made for a combustional. That NBA was like, oh, we're gonna sell this forever because this is just magic on the court. It's the way basketball should play. You got these two great teams. It was remarkable.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it was tit for tat too. I mean, if you look at those series and so forth, uh, there was plenty of heartbreak for both sides in
Yep.
all of that. And
Well, yeah,
that's the way it should be.
exactly.
Who wants to go watch somebody pound and win every damn game? That's no fun. You want to feel like there's something important that may be lost here that you hope you're going to win with.
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.